Welcome to another Team Prosperity team training. Today we got some great training for you today. Real quick, we have been going over several parts of the business model, the roles within that model, income producing activities. And last week specifically, we covered the 12-week year, introduction to mastering time management, crushing your results, beating your internal and external competition. And really, you guys, that starts with understanding how to beat yourself. Get out of your own way and pave the way for success. Once again, that's on the YouTube channel and the Facebook group for easy reference. Today, what we're going to be discussing is actually one of my favorite parts of our entire model, which is the back end of the debt to wealth system. So you have a debt part and you have a wealth part to our model when you look at the debt to wealth system. Those can be used independently of each other, or they can be combined together for the full strategy. What we're concentrating on today is the backside of that, specifically how to use some of these liquid insurance contracts to create arbitrage and actually create an asset from your debt payoff. The two-step system that we've kind of created around the technology, remember the technology is the financial GPS. It's going to tell you with pinpoint instructions what to do, when to do it, how much to move, all that good stuff. You don't have to worry about that. What we've done is create a strategy around the technology, letting it do the work. And that is something that can be used independently of each other, like I said, or combined for the full strategy. So what are those two steps? Well, you need to know for yourself, and you need to know how to explain this stuff, not in industry language, but on an elementary level to people who might be interested. Because if you go out there talking about getting rid of debt, eliminating debt, probably not going to attract the right type of persona. You're looking for people who want to create wealth out of their debt, how to create an asset from their debt. Step one is eliminating the bank's profit. Remember, banks are there to become really wealthy at our expense. So it's a very parasitic relationship. So in step one, we help the client understand that, reverse that cycle, stop that drain, and basically turn the tables in their favor. What are we doing in step one in a nutshell? We eliminate the bank's profit. We're not worried about the banks. They baked a lot of profit for themselves into those amortization schedules. And all we do is we eliminate the bank's profit, reroute that back to our clients as seed money for whatever it is they need to do. Now, step two, after we eliminate the bank's profit, we can actually take their position, replace and become the bank. So today, this is what we're going to be concentrating on step one, but just understand that these, once again, can be independently of each other, or they can be combined for the entire strategy. A lot of times when we get done doing what we do for some of our clients, outsiders say that's impossible, because what we do is we break it down in a very orderly fashion to help our clients understand. You start by doing what's necessary. What's necessary? Understanding that you're getting ripped off, drawing a line in the sand and stopping that. Then you do what's possible. What's possible? Well, after you eliminate the bank's profit, you can take the bank's position. And suddenly, the combination of two of those things happening simultaneously, you're starting to do, like I said, what a lot of people from the outside looking in would say, well, that's not possible. So what is possible? Well, we don't do what the banks tell us to do. We do exactly what the banks do. We mimic their model and we follow that to the T. So in step one, we eliminate the bank's profit. What are we doing? What are we using? We're using the banking principles that are designed systematically to be against us, keep us poor, keep the banks rich. We reverse that. In the algorithms of our technology, we can use those same banking principles that are used against us to put us at the head of the table. But in step two, when we look at replacing and taking the bank's position, we're not looking at the banking principles. We're looking at how the banks operate, and we're following their rules. So what are the rules of the bank? Well, banks want cash flow. They want to earn interest. They love leverage. They absolutely love OPM. What's that? That's other people's money. They want their money back as fast as possible. They want to take guarantees, and they want low risk. So once again, if the banks have a good model and they understand the ebb and flow and the movement of cash flow and money, we're just going to mimic the rules of the bank, implement that. And if you're using both of those strategies together, step one and two, that's the banking principles plus the rules of the bank, all combined together to create a financial end outcome that's desired with a legit path to actually get there. So the rules of the bank are going to help us create this. And then we go back to our primary question, which is a very important one, which is how to when you're learning privatized banking, this is the primary point of it. How is it possible to spend and earn a rate of return on the same money in two places at one time? That's simultaneous dollars working in multiple locations. We have been taught systematically for a single use case of money. Why is that? So that people can use our money and they can make money off of our money from us not being informed. So when we look at learning privatized banking, we're going to once again reverse that cycle. We're going to draw a line in the sand, and we're going to start to create wealth concepts and strategies with a plan of action and execution that allows us to do exactly what the wealthy do, what the banks do, what people and institutions do to get ahead. So what makes privatized banking so powerful? Remember, guys, if you were coming up with a recipe, that recipe has 4 ingredients for privatized banking. Number 1 is growth. Number 2 is collateralization. Number 3 is tax advantages. And number 4, my favorite, is uninterrupted interest. So let's break these down so you understand. You need a better rate of return than you can in any typical liquid savings accounts like money markets or savings accounts, anything that you're out there currently using. We need to earn a better rate of return. We need to outpace inflation. We need to grow our money at a decent pace. Collateralization. Instead of using your own money, let's leverage it against using other people's money. Once again, that's what banks do. That's what the wealthy do. We're going to incorporate those same strategies and solutions to get us ahead. Tax-free growth. Now, this is something that you don't want to bore clients with a long, diatribe about the future tax rate of this country, but they need to understand, no matter what it is, when you create systems like this, the growth inside your system can be accessed tax-free. Doesn't care what the macro tax rate is, breaking down, doesn't matter about any of that stuff. When you're in a tax-exempt category, doesn't matter. You're not going to be paying taxes when you do it correctly, while most other accounts, including the liquid accounts, are going to be taxable. Uninterrupted interest. Once again, my favorite. Your money continues to grow inside your system even while you're taking loans against collateral. What does that mean? It's multiple use cases of money. My dollar is simultaneously canceling interest and earning interest at the same time. When you understand that concept, it's extremely powerful because all of a sudden you can create an asset from money that you're going to be spending anyway. Once again, we don't want to go into a long, kind of boring and lose our prospects or our intended clients with information about taxes, but they need to understand that we understand the future tax rate of this country, what's perceived it's going to be, and we're putting our clients into a situation where they understand what it's going to be and they shield from as much liability as possible. So debt causes servitude, right? I owe, so off to work I go. When you go and you earn money, you have to pay taxes. So on income, whether it's passive or earned or active income, you're going to pay taxes on it. So when you're working, you pay income taxes, and then on your assets, you're going to pay taxes on whatever cash flows those create, whatever type of appreciation if sold at a later date. Which way, and this is the easiest way to get people to understand why we believe and why we teach what we do. Which way do you think taxes are going to go in the future? I bet if you ask this question 500 times, I bet close to 500 times you're going to get the same answer, which taxes are going to be going up. Why is that? Well, because we have a huge amount of national debt. Who's going to pay for that debt? Well, there's 2 types of tax systems in America. One's for the informed, one for the uninformed. The uninformed, unfortunately, will pay a large majority of these taxes. So what we want to understand is we can't do anything about the storm, so to speak. What we can do is provide raincoats and umbrellas so we don't get rained on. Can't do anything about this situation. We can take individual situations, shield them from as much future tax liability as possible. And what does that mean? That means the dollars they created, the dollars they're able to spend or invest or whatever it is they want to do versus having it chopped by a half or a quarter or whatever it may be or more by going another route. In the future, so you guys are seeing a tug of war right now in politics with spending, government spending. But how will the government make up for this shortage in the future? Well, they can raise taxes. They can change tax brackets. They can eliminate tax deductions. It doesn't matter if it's one, all three of these and more. What does that really mean? It means it's a shakedown of the American taxpayer. You have to be prepared for this environment or you're going to get creamed by this environment. So what does our step 2 on the Debt2Wealth system do? It actually incorporates a strategy that will create a tax-exempt environment for your future money. Because this is the reason. If your tax rate right now is this, your future tax rate could be this or more. This is a situation where most of the, well, not most, all the past generations of basically retirement, you paid less taxes, you had a less tax rate, et cetera. This could be changing, and you could have a higher tax rate in retirement than you did while you were working. So if you use tax deferral, kicking the can down the road, and you're building up these accounts, it's great for Uncle Sam, because at a future date with an unknown tax rate, you're going to have a larger account that he's going to take a bigger and bigger piece of. So you have to shield yourself and be smart about what's going to be happening, not looking down the road by inches, but looking down the road by miles to understand and prepare. So once again, we don't want to go off on a tangent about taxes, but our clients do need to understand that we know how to get them in a lane that will shield them from as much tax liability as possible. So let's go back to our teaching today. What is privatized banking? This is something you need to understand for yourself and be able to explain to your clients or your prospects. Privatized banking, because it's a big misconception in the financial services industry. A lot of people think that privatized banking is a product. It's not. It's both a system and then a product within that system. So if people are out there saying, hey, this is a contract, this is privatized banking, this is what we did, that's not it. It's a product within a system. So let me show you. Privatized banking is a whole cash flow system of money management. It has two critical components. Number one is you have to have a system for storing capital and then using that as collateral without interrupting the growth in what we call the money warehouse. And we'll look at that in just a minute. And then within that system, you have to have a product. What does the product do? Well, it's going to provide you with the most safety, liquidity, growth, as well as any additional benefits possible to give you the most control. What are we looking for? Control. Why? Because that creates peace of mind. And that creates, once again, the desired financial end outcomes people are excited about working with you to get, and they will be consistent in getting there because they know of the value of remaining with you and the plan. So this is the warehouse. I want you to think about, let's say we all went into business and we're selling physical inventory. Well, we've got to pick out a warehouse or multiple warehouses. What are we looking for? We're looking for location. We're looking for, make sure it's in good condition, make sure it has doors that we can lock, a security system, make sure it has insurance in case it catches on fire or floods. We're not looking for a physical warehouse. We're looking for a warehouse for your money, a money warehouse. You need a safe and reliable place to park your cash where it gets the most possible benefits. This is what you want to create for your money, a money warehouse. Things to consider when you or your clients or whoever you're talking to about this are considering picking out a money warehouse, because all of them, and this is extremely important, are not created equal. You can use some of these products within a good system and fail because the product just sucks. So how much can I use? How quickly can I access it? How does it grow over time? And what are my guarantees? Basically, it boils down into three things that you really need to know. Safety. I need to be able to count on my money to be there and not lose money, whether it's principal or previous gains. I want stair-step, continuous, uninterrupted growth. And then I need liquidity. So I can easily access my money. I don't need to tell people what it's for. I don't need to be a certain age, none of that stuff. I can easily access it and use my money, which means it's not locked up behind restrictions, fees, taxes, or any other special qualifications. I'm in the driver's seat. I'm in control. I make the calls. And then once again, growth. We always want to make sure we grow to outpace inflation and grow our money. I can get a decent and competitive rate of return in a safe and liquid money warehouse. What does a liquid money warehouse mean? It means there's no surrender charges, which means that long 7 to 10 year schedule for your money to catch up to the accumulated value no longer exists. So they can start using their money. And why is that important for our strategy? Because if we're going to be using the contracts to push some of our debt through, we have to have access to it pretty quickly. So that's why cash value life insurance, and once again, we've been stressing that throughout this entire training, specific and tailor-fitted permanent cash value life insurance, if and only if it passes the macro and the micro litmus test for the needs for that particular client. Remember, all clients are different. Sometimes these strategies work perfect. Sometimes they don't work. Maybe the back end doesn't work for one or more variable reasons. You always want to do what's best for the client to help them understand everybody's unique, everybody's situation is different. That's why we have evaluation processes and a whole back end of things that we do to make sure that it makes sense. Why is now the time to really be out there talking about this? Well, think about a timeline. Up until like the early 80s, like right around 1980 or something, or maybe it's in the late 70s, I'm not really sure. But up until that timeline, the wealthy were abusing these contracts as tax shelters. So what happens is Congress creates some acts, and what those acts do is basically tighten up. What does that mean? You got to buy more insurance to have the same type of cash flow coming through there. So it makes it more cost prohibitive. That stays on the book for what, 40 years? Now we're at the time of COVID. COVID causes a lot of disruption. Some of that disruption is in the bond market. The insurance industry actually provided liquidity to the bond market. And in that CARES Act, I'm sure you guys have all read it, 3,000 pages that came out during COVID. There were changes, and it kind of unwound or rewound some of this. So this is the golden age of privatized banking. And your clients, or some of them will ask, well, what happens if they go back? Well, you'll be grandfathered in. So that's why now is the time to take action and really incorporate this financial strategy into what you're doing. This was not meant for us, guys. This was meant for big banks and big corporations, but we just ducktail. We just kind of go on because that we weren't left out. It just wasn't meant for us. So we take those rules and the legislation that was created for big banks and corporations, and we bring that all the way back to the individual and the household. Within these contracts, you've got things that will help you. And we always say there's different things that can happen in life. You can die too soon, have a premature death. Well, in that case, if you've helped a client create this type of strategy, they've got tax-free death benefit that's going to go to their beneficiaries that will help, those people that, they were counting on that person. What if we live too long? What does that really mean? It just means that we've outlived our money. You see a lot of seniors in today's society having to deal with questions over picking prescriptions, over food and things like this. You don't want to go into the quote unquote golden years and run out of money. So we want to make sure our money lives as long as we do. And then if we become sick or hurt or ill along the way, if we're during the debt payoff time, and make sure that we can continue on that path with bridges of capital. But outside of the debt payoff, what does that really do? What does living benefits do? Living benefits will help two people in two different situations. If they have assets, it will help them from prematurely attacking those assets before they need to. And if you have absolutely no assets or anything, living benefits will help you stave off like financial destitute, bankruptcy from all of these medical bills and all the decreased or interrupted income during this time. So within these contracts and within these strategies, you still have the foundational stuff of life insurance, why it matters, why it's important, why it creates a legacy. We're just taking it a step further and kind of putting this on a turbocharge, so to speak, and incorporating a whole system around these contracts. So you do pay for life insurance, and there are some other fees, and we need to understand this is not the day and the training for this. You need to understand about the insurance costs, the policy fees, the expense charge, the premium expense charge, how long do they last, what is it, and what is it doing? So you are paying for the life insurance part. You are paying a portion of the money that goes in. The rest of the money that doesn't go to life insurance expenses or fees goes to what's called the accumulated value. What is the accumulated value? It's your money warehouse. That's where your money's going. That's where we're going to store your capital. And that's where we're going to use your capital as collateral to borrow the insurance company's money and create an arbitrage opportunity from the money that I was going to be spending anyway. So once again, this is what you need to understand. This is what you need to be teaching. This is what you need to be talking about in the Debt2Wealth system. How do I have my money in place working for me while still having the ability to use it and access it for any time, for any reason? Think about money that you've spent in the past, whether it be education costs, whether it be debt payments, and I don't care what it is. Think about if you still had that money in a money warehouse, earning a rate of return, and then you had loaned out money. So you're creating, like the bank does, an arbitrage spread. That's exactly what's happening here. That's what we call step 2, replacing and becoming the bank, taking the bank's position. After we eliminate their profit, we'll take their position. They have a very profitable position, and this is what it looks like. This is what's called the circle of wealth. This is what we teach, and this is what we execute with a plan of action that includes the technology. We want to drop the consumer mentality, and we want to start to think like a bank. What does a bank need? Bank needs a capital reserve, right? So this is your insurance contract. This is your money warehouse, whatever it is that you want to view it as. Inside that contract or that money warehouse, you have a capital reserve. That reserve is built up and it basically stays there. It ensures a number of different things for the contract. We'll talk about that another day. Anything above the reserve, we build up collateral. And that collateral, once again, is going to be used to borrow the insurance company's money. So at a time when that collateral builds up and we need money, we're using it, borrowing the insurance company's money, and then we're creating on the back end, whether we're paying off debt, business expenses, education, whatever it might be, we have what's called a spread there. It's creating arbitrage. We're putting money back on the street, but also retaining it in our original money warehouse. So once again, money that we've spent, if we retained it and we still made interest credits off of it, what does that do? Well, it creates an asset from the money that you're going to spend anyway, and it creates future income or whatever it is that somebody might need. Anything's better than watching the money go into a savings account, building it up, spending, and it's gone. Or borrowing it from some financial institution, paying it back, and it's gone. Those are single use cases of money. We want to hold on to our money forever, and just like the bank does, make an arbitrage spread. So how is this possible? Well, because your cash value, your savings continues to grow even as you borrow. So once again, how is this possible? Because you have collateral. Anytime you have collateral, somebody's willing to make you a loan, right? If it's in the right conditions, they understand how they're going to get their money back, and no matter what the situation, they'll be glad to loan you money. So the collateral against any loans you take, the cash value continues to grow, even when you borrow money. And this is incredibly powerful when you start to see 5, 10, 15, 20 years of this in one of these contracts build up, done correctly. It's an incredible journey. We call it payable upon death. And a lot of people don't understand, well, I'm not paying my loans back, because the loans themselves, with the accumulated value and the interest credit, create an asset. So we don't pay these loans back. We keep them on the books, and we're creating a lifelong arbitrage from that money. Now, after we die, it's going to be all amortized. And that cash value savings, the insurance company is going to subtract whatever retirement income, loans, interest, whatever's on the books, and what's called a net death benefit. That's the balance goes to it as tax-free death benefit to the heirs. So you are creating a tax-friendly situation during your life and a tax-friendly situation after your death for your heirs. You're setting up yourself and the people that you're leaving money to. This is my favorite part, guys, about the whole entire thing that we teach, is the power of compound interest. Albert Einstein says it's the eighth wonder of the world. Those people that understand it, they benefit from it greatly. Those people that do not understand it, they pay dearly for not understanding about the power of compound interest. What does it mean for our strategy here? It means that you are always taking advantage of compound interest, even when your money is also outside that system, working, doing whatever it's doing. We call it putting it back on the street. So the rule of 72, some people know, some people don't. It's how many years, and it works on if you have assets or if you owe money. It's how many years, according to the interest rate, that you either receive or pay, the money's going to double for you, or that money's going to double for the financial institution. So once again, if we're earning an 8% rate of return and we divide that by 72, we're expecting our money to double every 9 years. Why is this important? Because everything is mathematically driven. If I get 4 doubles out of the lifetime of my money, great. However, what if I could be disciplined and squeeze a 5th double out? What does that 5th double do? It creates more wealth than the other 4 all combined. So this is extremely important. Why do people not implement the rule of 72? Well, because there's a huge pitfall. It doesn't work with negative numbers, guys. So as people are at market risk, market driven, and we build up and we drop down, bear market, correction, crash, whatever it might be, we dig ourselves out of a hole, start making our money. That's a continuous pattern. We're making, losing, making, losing, making, losing. You can't build anything. You can't project anything off of there. So when we remove losses from the portfolio or from the strategy, we can implement mathematical rules like the rule of 72 and figure out how we're going to get to our end destination. And what does that end destination actually look like? This is a 100-year period of time. This is major market losses, for about 100 years. You can see the white is the period of time. The yellow is the percentage of loss, and the red is the years to recover. We have an average loss of 47% occurring every 11 years. So guys, we're due for a market correction, bear market crash, whatever it might be. What does this mean? Just like the tax situation, I can't do anything about market losses on a macro level, but I can do things about it on an individual level for myself, my clients, my partners, etc. Because when we eliminate losses, like I said, we have stair-step growth. When we don't eliminate losses, we're at the mercy of everything. This is A Hoover Institution report by a group of banking experts calculates that more than 2,300 US banks are currently sitting on assets worth less than their liabilities. Their market value of their loan portfolios is $2 trillion lower than their stated book value. What moves markets down in a major way fast? It's a financial crisis. We don't know when that financial crisis is going to hit, but when it does, it's like everybody yelling fire in a crowded theater. It's hard to hit the exit, and you're going to lose a lot of money. How do we eliminate that? Well, we just eliminate the losses from the portfolio with floors and caps. So this is a 14-year period of time, 2000 to 2013. We're going to look at an S&P investment, just a straight index investment, versus an IUL that's linked to the S&P 500, but it has a 0% floor and a 13% cap. That means every year we'll make between 0 and 13%, depending on what the S&P actually does. So let's go ahead and take a look at this, because the floor, remember, Jim Morrison of the Doors said you can't fall off the floor. He's exactly right. When you're in a contract like this, if you have a floor of 0, then you're going to sit out market losses. You'll participate in a percentage of market gains, but you'll sit out the market losses. Why does this matter? We'll go back to the beginning of this century in 2000. What's happening? You have the NASDAQ bubble bursting, you have 9/11, you have a lot of things happening. You have 3 down years back to back to back. Well, that initial S&P investment has started to tank. Well, with a floor of 0, we've stayed. We haven't made money, but we haven't lost money. And losing money is really, really hard to regain. Now let's look at the other side. What's the cap? We're capped out at 13%. That's the most we can make in this example in any given year. Well, look at that. 2009, the S&P is up 23.5%. That sucks, right? I give up 10 percentage points. But what you need to realize is most of the robust gains in the marketplace are on the backside of down year or down years. So if you go to 2008, S&P is down 38.5%. Let's make the math a little easier. Let's say the S&P was down 40% that year. You have to have a 67% gain just to get back to where you were originally, just get back to break even. So by eliminating losses and participating in a decent majority of the upside gains, what are we doing here? Well, at the end of this 14 years, you are looking at an S&P investment of about 3.5% on your money. Your money's grown over this roller coaster ride to 125,653, and most likely that gain of 25,000 and change is going to be taxable. Now let's look at the other result. With the cap and the floor and the IUL, you have almost an 8% rate of return. Almost that 100 grand has almost grown to 241.5, and guess what? That money, that growth inside there can be accessed tax-free. So when you add up two things, the difference in the growth and the difference in the taxes, in this example and most examples out there during most periods of time, this will come out on top, and it's not really even close. Let's take it one step further. Let's look at a 30-year bear market. That's incredible, right? So this is an example of the Japanese Nikkei index from 1990 to the year 2020. 1990, where's most people getting their financial advice from? It's not the internet, it's not social media, it's not even there yet. Most of the time it's just family. Let's say somebody's 35 years of age in 1990, and they at that time inherit $100,000. And their uncle says, you know what? The Japanese are taking over. You need to put all that in the Japanese Nikkei index and just let it ride. And you take that advice and you do that. Well, over the next 30 years, this has been an extreme bear market. What have you done at the end of that 30 years at age 65 when you're going to tap into that maybe for a little retirement income? Your 100 grand has not grown, but decreased or lost to about 78,000 and change. You've lost more than 20% of your original capital and principal, and you've lost 30 years of investing time. If we go back and if we use a 0% floor and a 13% cap on this index, same 100 grand, same period of time, that same 100 grand has actually grown close to $700,000, even with an extreme bull market or bear market here. Why? Because things don't go straight down. You're participating, you're participating, you're participating, you're participating. So through that, you're not participating on the market losses, you are participating on a percentage of the market gains. It makes a big difference, guys. So if somebody wants to go out there with a casino mentality and risk everything, unfortunately, that's going to be the best plan of action for them. We know probably it's not going to get them to their goals. So remember, this is a combination of both a system in place and a product within that system. It's not magic, it's math. and the power is in how you use it to get the results that you're looking for. So what does it mean when the full strategy comes together? Well, your clients have options for their offset. Remember, the financial GPS is the MMA. Your vehicle that you're traveling in is your offset, and your rate of speed that you're traveling in is your cash flow. The offsets can be many different things. If you use a savings account, what are the qualifications? Not much. The bank will be glad to take your money. I always look at it from 180-degree angles or perspectives on the spectrum. Worst case and best case scenario. Best case scenario, if you use your savings account as an offset, become debt-free in a fraction of the time, great. You've done what you needed to do. However, you cannot create an asset from becoming debt-free using a savings account. It is a single use case of money. What is the opposite? What if life totally blows up? It's your money. Nobody's coming after you. You didn't do anything. You don't owe anybody. Let's look at a line of credit. There's many different ones. Let's use as the home equity line of credit as the example. What does that mean? Two things. You have to have equity in your property. You have to have credit to qualify. What's the advantage of this? Advantage is you're getting a head start using a flexible, open-ended credit credit line to borrow the bank's money and get a head start. So it is a recourse loan. In a best case scenario, if you do this and everything works out well, great. You've accomplished one part of the goal, step one, but you cannot create an asset from becoming debt-free using a home equity line of credit or any other line of credit because, once again, it's a single use case of money. Now, this is the one that we've been concentrating on today, the liquid insurance contract. What does it mean? It's a non-recourse loan. What does that mean? Your policy is the collateral. So if your policy cancels, lapses, ceases to exist, all those loans cease to exist. Real quick, guys, let's go back to the line of credit because I forgot the worst case scenario. Worst case scenario, if life totally blows up, you owe somebody. Financial institution is coming after you. If they can't get what they want, they'll charge it off, and then the worst debt collector of all time will take their place, the IRS. Going back to the liquid insurance contract, non-recourse policy is the collateral for the loans. So in the best case scenario, if you use this strategy and you get through it, then you have used both steps. Why? Because you are simultaneously using the same dollar to cancel and earn interest. So yes, you can create an asset from becoming debt-free using the liquid insurance contract as the offset. Worst case scenario, life totally blows up. Once again, the policy lapses, cancels, terminates, ceases to exist. There might be some profit in there, but no one's coming after you. So you have to look at what these offsets are. You have to look at your client, evaluate what they're comfortable doing, what their goals and needs are, what their age is, what their health conditions are, and you have to put them into the best place for them. This is not all about, putting somebody in the same exact door time and time and time again. There's different doors, and those doors open for different people. You may have somebody start with a savings account, and then maybe a year or two in, they may want to switch to the liquid insurance contract. Don't force things on people they're uncomfortable doing. That's the worst case that you can be as an agent, worst case your client can be. What is this all doing? It's creating a credit spread. Where's your money? Well, if you're using single case for your money, then your money's gone. If you're using this contract, then you're understanding how money makes money, because now we can use this money after we paid off our debt to create retirement income, to go out there when assets are on sale and buy assets, real estate, investments, business, whatever it might be. And then just like we do on the debt side, when we have them fill out that data worksheet and we're talking about their discretionary income, leftover income, we always say, hey, come at a low average so that any surprises will be to the upside. We do the same thing here. You want to make sure that you are creating a foundation for them, not overshooting on interest credits and creating something with about a 0.5% arbitrage. If the numbers look good there, we feel pretty confident going forward that we can meet and exceed those expectations with our coaching, our technology, and the contract working together. One of the last things I'll leave you guys with today before we close up is a lot of people are confused about money. Why is that? Because financial institutions keep them confused about money with what I call mirage language. So the only thing I care about is reality. What they're teaching over there is some type of a way to look at something that's not really there. They preach what's called an average return. I preach what's called a real rate of return. So let's say that you have $100,000, and let's say you invested into a rip-roaring asset that was up 100%. Awesome. You doubled your money in a year. That is really great. You're at $200,000. Typically for those high flying assets, it's typical for them to have a correction period. So you start year 2 with 200 grand. Let's say that same asset is down 50% that year. The beginning of year 1 and the end of year 2, you have $100,000. The real rate of return has been 0. That's what I care about. Wall Street wants you to look at it this way. Hey, you had a 100% rate of return. You had a 50% loss. That's a 50% gain divided by 2 years, average gain of 25%. It's mirage language, guys. So you have to understand and teach people that the only thing that really matters is what's really happening with your money. So once again, guys, just to close this out, most opportunities put your money to work just once. You put your money in, earn a rate of return, then take your money out for whatever it is that you need. Privatized banking is unique because it offers the unparalleled opportunity to put the same money to work in 2 places at the same time. That's because your money is in your privatized banking system. It earns a rate of return. At the exact same time, you can also put it back on the street to work for another opportunity, debt, assets, whatever it might be. Even while your money is out working another way, it continues to work inside your privatized banking system, earning returns right along whatever else their money is doing. That means, once again, we have really gone from a single use case of money, which all Americans use, to having our money working in 2 places at the same time. This creates what I call a money trail. What is that money trail? Well, it's going to create an asset, a future income to either supplement or help you with retirement or whatever it might be. What does that mean? That means it creates what I call the freedom picture. Some people just want to travel to see their grandkids. Some people want to travel internationally. Some people don't want to travel at all. Some people want to start a business. Some people want to do this, do that. That is unique and specific to them. That's what this picture recognizes. Our job is to help them create a system, create a strategy, create a plan of action, execution of that plan to help them reach their particular goals. And we do that by using the Debt2Wealth system.